everybody. This is Pedro, and welcome back to Selena Infinity. I am so excited that you are here again, watching. I am working a little bit more and trying to figure out how to be able to work these editing tools. I'm using OBS software. Anyway, I don't want to bore you with any of that. Don't forget to subscribe, like, all of that kind of stuff. That is good. I have an interesting video today. I'm going to get just right to it. Somebody sent me a video a few weeks ago of an interview that they said that I did, and I assumed that they were talking about some like my everyday work or something like that. But once I clicked on it, I realized that it was a interview that I had done over 20 years ago about Selena when I went to Corpus Christi. I saw the clip maybe over 10 years ago, and I remember I watched just a couple seconds of it, and I was like, oh my God, I was terrified about it because I was so young and odd looking, should I say. I definitely have gotten, I believe, more proportional with age, but it brought back a lot of memories. I didn't actually watch the clip. I thought that I would record it, my reaction to it. And also I'm going to talk a little bit about what it's like to be an old school Selena fan. Like, you know, those of us who were following her from the 90s, sort of what that has been like, that transition. I know a lot of you have been fans for a really long time. So let me know in the comments sort of what you think about what I have to say and sort of what you remember from being a fan back in those days. And for those of you that were a fan from way back then, you know, stay tuned for a little bit, because I want to tell you about how we're all benefiting from the fans that were back in the 90s. But now I'm a little worried about seeing this. It's rough. Let's take a look.
March 21st marks the 5th anniversary of Selena's
Debra
death,
Duncan.
and fans from all over the world traveled to Corpus Christi in memory of her.
So, if I remember correctly, the Debra Duncan show was like a Texas-based show. Like, I think it was in Houston or Dallas or something like that. And I do believe that her show was syndicated. So, I think it didn't only air in Texas. I think it aired nationwide. I had never seen it, and I had never heard of Debra Duncan. But I remember I remember the reporter that came up. It wasn't Debra Duncan herself. It was like a reporter that came up and started talking to us and asking questions. All right, let's continue. The night before Ashford concert.
What made Selena special to me was her personality.
Is that me?
She had that alive, the vibrance. She had that smile, that laugh that made everyone.
So he was a good friend. He was a friend that I met through Selena, etc., the chat board on Selena, etc., back in the 90s. And he was a nice guy. Kenny was, I can't remember what state he was from, but he was from one of the like white states. I don't know. He wasn't like from California or something like that. Like he was from like Louisiana or Oklahoma or something like that. Like, I'm not sure. And he actually made a lot of friends. He was just a very sweet guy. He was sort of always playing peacemaker among Selena fans and just was a steadfast guy. And he was, you know, at the time, a little older guy. He's probably about my age, thinking about it, you know, maybe a little bit older at the time. But he was a nice guy. And I always remember that he was such a sweet person, and I was so impressed to see a guy of his age be a Selena fan. He didn't speak a word of Spanish, and he stayed in the Days Inn Motel. I remember he stayed at the Days Inn Motel, I think in the room next to where Selena, that whole thing happened in the Days Inn. But super sweet guy, just knew everything about Selena, wanted to learn more, had a really nice collection, and just a really super sweet guy. I'm glad to see you, Kenny. I haven't kept in touch, so I don't know how he is.
Feel good. And I feel like I have, when I listen to the videos that I purchased and hear that laugh, you can't help but laugh along and feel the joy that she was feeling.
She looks
when
great.
she died, I wanted to come and see the city, see her grave. My nieces all saved up their money so
Oh my God, look at those teeth. I haven't changed my teeth or anything. That's probably also the quality. But certainly my teeth looked a lot bigger than they do now. I grind my teeth at night, so that's probably a little bit of it, of why they're, receding. But oh my goodness, look at that huge nose too. I was a lot skinnier. I mean, I still have the huge nose, but I was a lot skinnier back then. I was a lot skinnier back then, let's just say that. So my nose looked even bigger. But I still, oh my God, I must have been 19 years old. If this was March 2000, I would have been 19 years old back then. So that tells you how old I am now. All right, let's continue.
can get them stuff from the boutique. I have a whole bunch of clothes. My mom, my sister. They'll take a lot of pictures.
What's with all
Went
the
to
air?
museum yesterday. Everything. It's just taking everything in. It's like a dream.
It's it's a little funny because you can't even tell what I'm saying. But I think what I just stopped it at, I think I said it's like a dream come true, and it really was when I first went. This was the first trip that I had ever taken on my own, and it was amazing to be able to go to all these sites that I had always wanted to see. So I was a big Selena fan. That was really important to me, and Corpus Christi was like everything was Selena. Before then, I had gone to San Antonio, I believe, and then I took a Greyhound down to Corpus. And then after Corpus, I went up to Dallas to see the Selena musical at the time. So it was for the first time being out of my little tiny state and traveling to another state. I was pretty courageous at 19, I guess. I'm surprised that I didn't get killed because I would just talk to anybody at that point. If anybody wanted to talk to me, I'd stop and talk to them. But all right, let's see what else happens.
I couldn't afford the expenses to come from Hawaii, so I had to work really hard and get my bonuses. And with my bonuses, I paid the airplane over here. Went to San Antonio and met with all these people right here. We all know each.
Oh my goodness! Let's see. Oh, so there on the left, I think it's your left, with the hat. That's Sylvia. She's still a big time Selena fan. She's a moderator in our Selena chat group, and has a huge collection. We're still good friends. Sylvia, I visited her in Texas multiple times. We've met in Texas multiple times. This was the first time we were meeting. She's a great gal, just knows everything about Selena. Has like autographs and books and magazines. And she just has everything Selena related. She has it. The person that I'm hugging is Renee. Renee was from, I can't remember from where Renee. Yeah, but she was another white girl who didn't know Spanish, but was just a huge Selena fan. And I love people like that who say, I don't really understand what you're saying, but I just like what she's singing, and I like her as a person. Because, I think Selena was about bringing people together through her music. And she herself, right, didn't understand some of the things that she was singing about. She must have understood generally, but she didn't quite understand some of the things that she was singing about when she was a lot younger. So it's really amazing that people who didn't understand what she was singing also gravitated towards that. I mean, Selena must have done something to be able to appeal to people that couldn't understand a single word that she was saying, which is, some of the greats, that's what we hear. And all the way back to opera time, people didn't always know Italian or whatever language the operas were in. And so they just learned to appreciate the music and the talent. And that's what, people like Kenny and Renee did. And then all the way on the corner, the tall, that's Eugene. We also have kept in touch. He was from San Antonio. And he came down. I met him in San Antonio. We actually went to a couple Selena sites together over there in San Antonio when they still had the Selena Etc. boutique in San Antonio. And that was a lot of fun. Eugene is a great deal of fun. Just a young guy. I believe he was younger than me. He might have been 17 at the time even. And he came down to Corpus, and he just had a great time. We had a great time together. All of us had a really great time. We met a lot of other Selena fans. So this is before, there was an inkling of having a Selena festival or Selena fan meetups that happen in LA and San Francisco and Chicago. I've seen San Diego, before any of that, we just were creating our own thing. Okay.
From the internet, and it's been something unforgettable. Nothing that I'm not forget.
So I brought shell lace for everybody. That's right. I brought these shell lace from, if you've ever been to Hawaii, they're the ABC stores. And you can buy these shell lace. And everybody that I would meet, I would get them this shell lace that I bought. And I was so happy. And when I would give them to people, they would be so happy. Because I don't think anybody that I met had been to Hawaii. So it was just a cool thing for them to get. That's right. So that's what I'm doing there. So I'm giving them these shell lace.
I didn't find out that I could come until about a month ago, because that's when I found out I made enough bonuses. And I was screaming and jumping up and I was thinking. And the bonus was that I could get a ticket anywhere in the U.S., Jamaica, or Mexico. and I picked Corpus Christi. And everybody was saying, why are you going to Corpus Christi? Hawaii? From Hawaii to Corpus Christi? I'm like, no, had something there that nothing else has.
That's very sweet. That's a very sweet thing to say. And I meant that. I mean, I have gone back to Corpus Christi several times, and it's exactly right. I mean, by now I've gotten to travel to many wonderful places all across the United States and outside the United States. But I'll continue to go back to Corpus Christi because it does have something that the other places don't have. And that is, it still has the imprint of Selena. And that's incredibly beautiful to me, to be able to feel like she walked there. And you get to go to the museum, and you get to see the statue, and you get to go to eat at Hi Ho, which I actually have never gotten to eat. That trip, actually, we were supposed to go to Hi Ho, but we couldn't find it. The Hi Ho restaurant is, for those of you that don't know, it was a restaurant in Corpus Christi. It is a restaurant in Corpus Christi that Selena loved. And so they have tons of pictures of Selena. She would go and eat there. She liked her food. The people who worked there have fond memories of her. And so a lot of Selena fans like to go there. And they say that the food is pretty good, but I've never gotten to eat there. But yes, this was a long time ago. I remember afterwards we went to the Selena, her neighborhood was having this tribute. Mario Gomez was the organizer, who was Selena's neighbor. And he would have people just come and sing and do these things. And I remember I sang a Selena song back then. I believe that I did back then. And it was, it's hard to tell because I've gone back several times now, and so I can't remember which trip was which, but it was really nice because it was in her neighborhood. You could see that the neighborhood is actually a pretty modest neighborhood, the salt of the earth kind of people. There wasn't a fancy neighborhood or anything like that. So it was outside the local grocery store, like the little sort of neighborhood mom and pop shop that was outside. And I think Mario Gomez owned the store or worked with the store or something like that, and that's why he was having it outside. And now there's still a mural there outside that store. I don't know what it is now. I don't know if it's still a store, but there's a mural out there. There was a mural back there too, but this one is a new mural that was reconstructed. What a blast from the past. So embarrassing. But anyway, yeah, like what I said, that was very sweet. I guess I was made to talk about Selena. I've been doing that since 2000, over 20 years ago. Wow, that's fairly amazing. And so I did want to talk about that a little bit, how fans of Selena who were active in the 90s. First of all, there's when you go to Corpus, you'll meet the fans who like went to her concerts, who saw her grow up, the neighbors, the people who went to school with her. Like there'll be several people out there. There's this one woman who had a picture. I remember this clearly, that she had a picture of her sister, I believe, and her sister had cancer and she had lost all her hair, and she wanted to meet Selena though, and Selena came up to her and talked to her, and Selena asked her, do you want a picture? And she said, no, I don't want to take a picture because I don't have my hair. And so Selena said, it's okay. And then she flipped her head on top of hers, and then she put all her hair on top of that girl's hair so that she looked like she had hair. And so she had the picture of her and her sister. I believe it was her sister. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I forgot the lady's name, but she had the picture of Selena, like with her head right next to this girl and all of Selena's hair hanging around. And you just hear all these stories of people who met her who will say, oh yeah, Selena did this, or I remember seeing her, and sort of, confirming all those things that we as fans who didn't, get to go to her concerts or anything, believe about her. They're saying like, no, she was very sweet. I remember there was one kid who was there as well, who talked about how he was, they would help look for her dogs. They would get out of the yard and they would go help look for her dogs. And you saw the big mastiffs that she had, those big dogs, and she had little dogs too. And then I guess they would get out of the yard and she'd be like looking for them, and the kids would help look for them. And he said that Selena would take them to like McDonald's as a thank you. Or in that sometimes he would come over to her house, and he said her house always smelled so nice because I guess she would like put up a pan and put orange peels and potpourri and like kind of like let it burn, and it would make the entire house smell kind of like oranges and potpourri. and he would say that her house always smelled so pretty, and he loved coming over because of the smell. And so stories like that, a person that went to school with her that said that they used to like sell stuff during recess, that Selena was always selling things, and she was telling us about some of the things that she was, and just what a big tomboy she was, and how she was sort of not afraid of anything. And it just stuff. Oh, somebody who was a teacher, who was her teacher, stuff like that that I gotten to meet on my trips to Corpus. That I'm really sad that those aren't somewhere like collected. People who have come to know Selena and having those stories about going to her concerts, and things like that. That should be collected somewhere. And back then, you couldn't go to YouTube and watch one of her videos, or you couldn't go to, search the internet and just find, tons of pictures of her from all these concerts and things. So a lot of times, there were a couple of options. If you had a Selena T-shirt, for example, there were only three ways that you could have gotten it. You made it yourself. You went to Corpus and bought it from Q Productions or a place like that, or it was bootleg, probably off of eBay. Maybe if you were in California or Texas, you could find T-shirts, but if you were anywhere else in the country, it was really, really rare. We basically we had three things that was, quote unquote official footage that you could get your hands on. One was the movie. That wasn't Selena, but there was that little bit of the Selena concert at the end of the movie. The original VHS actually came with the Astrodome beginning, as part of the VHS, the real Selena coming out of the Astrodome and singing the disco medley. And I remember the first time that I watched it, I just felt like, wow, like I felt like I was watching, I don't know, like it felt so special. And it made me realize how beautiful the movie was, because they had done such a loving recreation of the actual Astrodome concert. But it felt like I was watching the moon landing. I don't know, it just felt so special and so remarkable to be able to watch her. I had come across this like little treasure that was buried and that I had uncovered it. It felt really special. And it was because we couldn't, that was the first time that I had seen a Selena performance in like really good quality and audio and all of those things. I hadn't seen one until then. And the only other way that you could get some of those performances is if somebody had taped it off of TV and had made you a copy. And for those of you that don't know, VHSs, those tapes that used to stick in VCRs, if you copy it, it's not like a digital file. Like each time that you copied it, it would degrade the quality. And so that's why there's so many of these videos that, including the video that you just saw, that are such bad qualities. There's probably a video out there that exists that has very good quality, but it probably has a made of copy of a copy of a copy of a copy, and it degrades that quality. And so that's a shame, because that means that there's tons of footage out there that is just sort of aging and breaking up, that we'll never get to see. There's many performances that I remember seeing back then. I still have my VHSs, and I think I need to invest in digitizing them, because it would be a shame to lose all of that stuff. A lot of stuff that I haven't seen on YouTube, and a lot of stuff that I've seen on YouTube now that I never even knew that existed. And that's even more amazing. And it's those people in the 90s who kept her alive, through passing those VHS, putting stuff on eBay and buying stuff off of eBay, and going to the Selena statue and just talking to other fans. It's those people, that analog format, that the spending the time to copy that VHS, and sending it to other fans, that help keep Selena's memory alive. That help people like me, who were young at that time and didn't have access to any of that stuff, to really get to fall in love with the real Selena, not just the movie Selena, but the real Selena, because there just wasn't much. The only other things that there were Selena Remembered, which was the official documentary that was put up by Q Productions. And then there was a couple of like third-party documentaries that had some interesting footage and videos, and they were a little bit more about the dramatics of the day of, what happened to Selena and stuff like that. And these were unofficial, sort of bootleggy kind of documentaries. Later on, there started to become a lot more. There was the VH1 special. There were stuff that would come out, on E or things like that. They were a lot longer. A&E, I remember, did a documentary, and then obviously YouTube has, I think, expanded Selena's reach incredibly, because there are so many people that can watch those performances, and a lot of them in very good quality, and are able to realize, like, wow, she was pretty good. This woman was pretty good. And but it's a lot of that is, to thank those fans in the 90s who had the presence of mind to keep a copy. Yeah, there's some new footage that comes out, that a TV station or somebody else might release, but those are rare. A lot of the stuff that is online does not come from the Quintanillas and does not come from, a TV station or something like that. It comes from fans who taped it when they saw it, saved it, distributed it, and now it's ending up for all of us to be able to see. So big props to those in the 90s. Big props for those people who, would show up to the chat rooms and, on dial-up modems, tying up their phone lines, people who went down, like I did, to Corpus to learn more about her and document and be witness to the Selena phenomenon that now we know, that back then was very, very difficult to be a part of, because there just wasn't much. So this new album, I'm really excited about it because it continues the legacy of bringing more content out, because there wasn't much when I was an early fan. There just wasn't much. So I would rather that there's more content than none, because I think that more and more people, as time passes, will fall in love with Selena. That's it. That is all that I have. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and hit the bell button so that you can be notified of my future videos. We have that Facebook group, which is Tejano Rules. Go ahead and join if you want to. And I believe that is it for me. Take care. Bye, everybody.